Okay, so let's begin.
So are we allowed to record? Are we allowed to?
Yes, you're allowed to record. Yes. Okay, I'm going to put everybody on mute now, and we'll begin. And I'm just going to unmute Mr. Bedi only and Aadil. Okay, so just give me a minute.
Please request record emission permission from the.
Hariji, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Very loud and clear.
Can everybody hear him?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Also, Aadil, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, let's begin.
Diggy, the others are not on mute. Diggy, do you want to mute everyone else? Otherwise, they keep.
Yes, everybody is meant to be muted. I had muted everybody.
No, I can hear everyone.
Okay, those of you, can you just look out for that icon at the bottom left?
I
of
think
the
you can
screen?
also come.
Just kindly mute yourself, please. Okay. All right, great. Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I really am very, very grateful to both Mr. Harinder, who is also known as Harry Bedi, and his son Aadil. Both have done some phenomenal work over the last many years, and knowledge and information that they have gained in the process is going to be very, very valuable for all of us today. How we're going to go ahead is that we will do a small question answer. I'm going to ask them a few questions. I've got some questions initially for Harinder ji, and then after that for Aadil. And there's some questions, of course, they'll answer together. And after maybe half an hour of this, I will open it up to the entire floor for questions. You can send in me your questions on the chat, and accordingly, I will unmute you and request you to ask the question. Before we start, let me just tell you a little bit about whom we are talking to today. Now, Mr. Bedi himself is an engineer, and he has done his MTech, he's doing his PhD at the moment, but more importantly, he's made some huge sacrifices to help Aadil progress in his journey to become what people are saying is maybe one of the brightest talents in sport that India has seen in a long time. Aadil, as you all know, this was well publicized recently, won his first professional tournament by chipping in on the 6th playoff hole in Tollygunge Club. And fortunately, we had Jaideep, one of our club members who was there, who watched it and informed all of us in Bombay while it was happening. So we were actually able to just, immediately log in and see that entire thing happen. So Jaideep, thanks very much. And he actually planted the seed that I had met Mr. Bedi at Jeeves' party in his tournament a couple of months back. And just by speaking to him, we could tell the wealth of knowledge there. And he very generously offered that, listen, anytime you want me to speak or have anybody benefit from what we have gained, I'll be happy to. And as soon as this coronavirus situation happened, I said, let's see how best we can use this opportunity. And I was thinking of people that my students could hear from, and his name was right up there. So we've got some other people lined up I'll tell you about later, but I think we are very fortunate that we have such a valuable parent and son combination today. And I think you're in for a treat, all of you. Anytime you feel you want to ask something, please put up on the chat and I'll try and see how to weave the question in. If not, we'll do it at the ending. So ready to go? Hariji?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I've got a few questions. I'm going to start with Hariji to begin with. And if you don't mind me, I'll just quickly, I'll just call you Harinderji or Hariji. What would you prefer?
Yeah, Harry is fine.
Okay. I remember seeing a video of Aadil as a 4-year-old kid. It's on YouTube. And you can already tell that there's a very organized young mind there because the way he went through his process and hit the shot. But at what stage of life and time did you realize that the kid has got some spark in him?
Originally, to begin with, it was started as a babysitter. My wife is an IS officer, and she was normally very busy office schedule. Then he was 3 year old, and then you take him better to the golf course. So look after your child as well, because he just roam around in the whole streets and smashing the glasses of the whole city. So I take him to started taking him to the golf course, giving him a chair, giving him a cold drink and the chips, so that he can sit for 2 hours, 3 hours, or they can hit some balls myself. So my formula was not succeeded. The sooner he realized that I should know what dad is doing and behind the range. So he insisted me to let me give me my clubs and start hitting the balls. From there, we thought that we should order a smaller club, like my clubs was a little longer and taller. So we ordered a golf club from Pauline Golf Course. Pauline was in charge there. The moment our club arrived in 2 months, 3 months time, the rest is the history.
So at what he started playing at the age of 4, at what time, what stage did you think that, because you started having him play the IGU circuit at 6, that's a pretty short period of time to, expose a child to tournament play, but that's fantastic. So at what stage did you feel this is right to send him out there?
At the age of 3, he just watched. At the age of 4, he started hitting the ball. 5th, he started walking the 9 hole, and end of the 5th year, he started walking 18th hole.
Okay.
So the first IGU match happened in Chandigarh. It was hot summer. Wing Commander Aparajit was the General Secretary of Indian Golf Union. I requested him that my child wanted to play a tournament. He said, most welcome, but I will allow him to only 9 hole. So after 9 hole, he was standing on the 10th. He said, you cannot tee off. The other said, no, I wanted to play all 18 holes. And he played all 3 category at the age of 6 and shot 299.
You remember the score as well. Fantastic.
He said that I shot the highest score. I won the match.
But
I said, you didn't won the match. You are the last one in the match.
Okay. There's a slight echo coming in the voice. Is it possible to reduce it somehow? Is it clear? Everybody, is it clear?
No, Diggy, if somebody is not on the headphones,
yeah,
and is live with so it's a feedback coming. So so everyone's not muted, and the feedback comes in.
Okay.
DIGRAJ sir.
Yes,
Sir,
Rian.
I also can't hear the others, sir, because...
Okay. I'm putting you on mute now, okay? All right. Thank you. Guys, just put your headphones, put your screens
both
on.
of them are in the same. That's why the voice.
How we can solve the echo?
Oh, this is quite much better, G. It's much clearer. Thank you.
Better?
Yeah, much clearer. Okay.
Is there
one
is better now?
Yeah, no, it's still there. Harry, is there somebody else in the room with you with another
I
device?
think both of you are in the same room. That's why the voice is echoing.
Yeah, he moved outside. Is okay now?
Yeah, or Aadil also needs to mute himself. Then it'll be fine. Yeah.
Oh, he moved in a different office.
Yeah, it's much clearer now. Perfect. Thank you so much.
I think he moved in a different office.
Okay.
So he'll be better now.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Aadil. Okay. So my next question is, once you realize that, he's showing this potential, what are the few steps that you took to keep him motivated, keep him going?
The first ball he hit at the age of 6, I realized that he hits like an arrow. It's a very straight shot. By natural watching me, he started hitting shots without any coaching, because he walked with me. By the time he started hitting the ball, he spent 1.5 years with me continuously, as a so-called as a babysitter. So 1.5 years only watching golf, no playing. So when he actually started hitting the ball at the 4 or 5, he started playing. The moment he turned 6, he was all set to play 18 holes. So first match he played in IGU and he shot 300, 299. Then I realized that I should stop my golfing and I should focus more on his golfing training. Then I approached his childhood coach, Mr. Jassi Garewal. Then he told me that I was watching the child from the 2-3 years time. He has a potential. we focus on his training, equipment, fitness, diet. Then we made a roster. He became serious at the age of 6.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, right time, the coach helped in spotting the talent. You made all the sacrifices that you made. But tell me one thing, today's kids with so many pressures of school, managing schedules, classes, etc. How did you balance everything?
My wife and we sat together that I told my wife that he wanted to play golf, and my wife is a doctorate. My parents, in-laws, everybody was from academics. So she said, no, you just play casual golf. He will not play professional golf, and better let him be, maintain a balance. And I will not allow him to skip his classes, school education, compulsory. She had put her foot down that he will not do anything hanky fanky other than what we did in our life. That was a law in the home.
Okay. And then?
Then she gave a couple of deadlines till primary school. Then she extended it to middle school. Then she extended the deadline to high school. So either better get excellence or you come back to the study. So that deadline is still there on the Adil.
So I'm
Either
going to
you
pose this
become
to
a world
Adil.
class golfer, you go back.
So Adil, how did you manage that? Because school, as a student, you have your pressures. You want to do well in class. You got friends, plus you had a vision of your own. How did you manage all that?
I think it was always a struggle between setting your priorities. I mean, I knew pretty early on, what things are really important to me. So I kind of sidelined the normal joys of like a kid growing up. It was pretty clear early on. I want to play golf and I'll put everything I'll have in one place. So I mean, if one motive is clear, then everything falls into place. Then I had a pretty good friend circle. They helped me with studies, and teachers were also quite helpful to give notes of other students to me and reschedule exams to my convenient dates. So I think everyone played a major role, but it all started in the mind. I mean, if it's not clear what you want, then it's no use, sacrificing everything.
A good point you made, Adil, and I'm sure there's a lesson here for everybody who's listening. So thanks so much for stating that. Let's move on. I'm coming back to Dad, and you can help in answering this question. Coming to the golf swing, and today there's so many different styles of coaching available. You have the Ledbetter style, you have the stack and stilt, you have the traditional Ben Hogan modern fundamentals, and there are many new things coming up. How did you decide what to stick with and go with? And did you make any changes midway, or you just stuck to one? It'll help some of the people who are listening to this entire thing.
I think because until I think when I was 11 or 12, I really didn't care about all these different style. Like I didn't even know about most of the things that I know now. But I always had a very good equation with my coach. So I think that is something that I think is very important for a child who started playing early on, because the first things you learn they go a long way with you. So I think my fundamentals about the game were very strong. So that's why I'm able to, experiment now with my swing, because now I have access to much more technology, many more, much more information now, especially at the pro level, on the Asian tour you go, you have so many coaches, they have so many companies, try this, try this. So, but I have a good understanding about the basis of the fundamentals of the game. So I never sideline those, but apart from them I keep experimenting still date. I mean, I don't there's not because golf is such a dynamic game. Every week you're feeling different, every course needs a different type of game plan, so you have to be adaptive to different situations, but at the same time your fundamentals should be really really strong. So I think children who are young children, so I think for them it's very important to understand, like, choose one choose one particular type of swing you like and stick to it for the rest of your life. You experiment with some things, but you don't change the base, the whole the foundation of the swing.
I think very well answered. Thank you, Adil. Good inputs there. Completely appreciated. I want to ask you another thing. In terms of your swing and in terms of fitness, what is the marriage there? How much effort is going into fitness? How much does it support your swing? And what are you doing for it?
I think it's very important because I didn't appreciate the, the strength of like the importance of fitness until I was about 15. I always thought, because I played a lot of sports growing up, so I was athletically, naturally quite fit. So I didn't give it much importance. I did my warm ups, I did my cool downs, but when I started playing the amateur circuit, I really had a big shock because like the bigger boys, they really hit it far. So I figured that, if I have to compete with people, 10 years, 15 years elder to me, I have to put in some extra work to decrease the age gap. So because like there is a physical difference between a 15-year-old and a 25-year-old. So I think after 14, I started working really hard in the gym. And I think that started paying off quite early because there was so many things to do. So I covered that gap, I think in about a year, but it took a lot of hard work. And still now I see that all the big pros, they spend so much time, so many resources on their body just so they can be physically at the peak, physically at their best position every week. And it's a year-long process. There are no shortcuts to it. You have to put in the work, you have to wake up early, and you just have to do it. I mean, if you're not doing it, you're giving advantage to someone who is.
So just give us an idea, Adil, what did you start doing when you were 14, 15, and what do you do nowadays to just give everybody a sense as to what it
So
takes? Yeah.
So same, I put the same principles I just started golf with. I first like the first trainers I had, they were very knowledgeable trainers. I still work with them, so they gave me a very good understanding about what the basis of the body is. Like the first I think the first few weeks were the toughest because it was completely new to me, and it felt like a bit weird because I never done that stuff. The normal things like deadlift, squats, but like I always wanted to do physical, like play football or play tennis, also do swimming, like other sports. But gym was something which I never done as a discipline. So the first few weeks were a bit tough, but if you understand your body well, that takes some time because everyone is different and everyone behaves different in different situations. But even in fitness, there are some core like exercises which are a must for golfer, because people usually think that we swing with our upper body, which is not completely true. Most of our power is generated by our legs. So I think you have to put in the leg work, and
Exactly.
no amount of leg work is ever enough. So you always have to pushing, in the first I started with body weight exercises only because just to get in good form. And I did body weight exercises for about 4 months before I started lifting light weights, because as you're growing, your body is under so much pressure to grow also, because your height is increasing, your arm length increases, your leg length increases. So at that time, lifting heavy weights is not the ideal situation, but you should start with some weight so that when you start to lift heavy weights, there's not a complete shock. You don't feel like you're doing something completely new, so you get used to it time by time.
Very nice, Adil. Thank you so much. That's great information for everybody listening. I have a question which is now both for yourself and Dad. Harry, tell me, what is it about Chandigarh that you're able to produce players who've got this big vision? I mean, I remember Jeev telling me when he was very young that he's going to win the Masters one day. Um, it took a lot of guts to make a statement like that, and I can see a lot of the kids who are working there, including Adil, from whatever I see, very clear that they're going to play on the US Tour. They're going to try and win a major. Uh, what is it that's happening there, which I think all of us need to learn from?
It's basically Chandigarh is proving to be a nice golf nursery. Like we have all the facility in one roof, like you are trying to create at BPGC. So we have a fitness, we have a swimming pool, we have a senior player who can mentor you, who comes there, and everybody practice there. We have a gym, then you have a Titleist Performance Center, fitness center, then you have a short game area, you have a long-term area, you have a trackman there, now you have a technology there. And the best part is like you have the player to whom you can rely, you can see them as your heroes, like Jeev was there, Arina Brad was there, Harmeet Kalom was there. So the city has a history now. Though most of the youngsters, they see the player that I can be like him, like Shubhankar Sharma, I can be like Gaganjit Bhullar. Then you know they don't see Phil Mickelson, they don't see Tiger Woods around. So they see all their Indian people as a hero. So most of them, they try to uh, maculate and try to make a copy, and they try to interact with them, and these people are very nice to the youngster. They give them a guidance that you see, once the child if become it comes to the teenage type like 14 15, then he starts searching around on the network like internet, where what he's playing, where he's playing. Then he says, Adil always come to me, Dad, see the Jeev sir won the Scottish Open, Gaganjit Bhullar he won the Fiji Open, see Shubhankar won the this open, that open. So that's like a win-win situation, and that triggers the chain. So once the idea is there, triggers the chain, you see yourself that one day you can do the same thing. So that is the basically plus point of Chandigarh.
Wonderful. You tell me one thing that, and you've seen a lot of kids here in India, you've seen them abroad. How do our Indian kids stack up against the best in the world in terms of, or maybe the kids of this age at the moment?
Uh, DIGRAJ, I just wanted to like Indian golf. I played US amateur pro-am in 2006, 2007, and then 2008. So 2008 it happened in Torrey Pine. I went up there and then saw the things that how this Tiger hits the ball, how this Phil Mickelson hits the ball. Then I studied the AJJGA program, US government conducting. I saw their junior program, how they conduct the things. So my fundamentals were very, very clear. Like only four people are playing. Obviously, you are first, second, third, or fourth. So everybody will get a trophy in India. So if it is a level, the level has to be of 250 people, group of boys or girls to be in a group. Then if you win, then you can claim that you are a winner of the game, and then you have some level, you have some proficiency. I personally felt that the level Indian winner first, second, third on the Indian Golf Union Tour, like in the women's golf, or you see the ladies tour, you see only three girls are playing. One is first, other is second, third is third. Everybody get a trophy. So that is not the level. You are shooting 80, you are shooting 90, you are still second or third. So my point was that if we wanted to be a winner, you have to cop up or match up with the score with the international standard. That international score comes at the age of 14, 10, 12, 14, 16. I made a graph that these are the scores, the people shoot around the globe. So if you compete or if you shoot this much score, then you can win on international globe. Then you will be able to shoot. If you are 10-year-old, if you are playing 5,000-yard golf course, then you have to have a 600, 700 every day. So that's your yardstick. This I had a very clear vision when Aadil was very young. He didn't even know about the yardage and the scoring area. Then I made him to play every year. My parents used to live in US, so I made him to play every year that he should visit US to grandmother house, and then he should play 2 3 tournaments so that he can acquainted with the system of 250 people field, which he did. Like sometime he won also, sometime he missed a cut also. But I made him to realize that this is the golf. This is the level of the golf. This is what I defined very early, that Indian golf is not to its perfect depth that he should face. He should have a tougher challenge in his life so that he visualize himself like he wanted to be playing one day in front of 50,000 people gallery.
Wonderful.
Rahul,
Just when the gray cells are being formed, uh, this is the time to actually embed the vision. So, at what stage and what age did he start thinking that he can actually play on the US tour or win a major? When was the turning point when you felt, okay, this is worth going all out for it?
Initially, our initial program was never to win number of trophies or number of matches. Our initial program was to complete 10,000 practice hours, 10,000 practice hours, which we completed around Asian Games. Around Asian Game was in 2018, and that year we practiced. We had a structured program like 25 hours a week, alternate week, every week. So we completed 10,000 hours. Then we had a benchmark of touching the score playing from the championship team, these are the score you have to achieve. This is the level par. Our first target is to have all 4-day level par score. So that he achieved at the age of 14. So then he won his first amateur at the age of 15 at the BPGC. It happened incidentally. It happened at the BPGC, and he made a debut in his professional circuit at BPGC, and he won his amateur circuit first match debut in BPGC. So
Wonderful.
Bombay is very lucky for him.
All right.
So so there he shot 7 under and won his first amateur match. So we had a little yardstick, then achieve it, then set a next bar, then next bar, then next bar, and so on.
That's wonderful, Ji. I want to just come up to you again, and you're a big proponent of technology, and you've been an engineer, and you've been bringing in a lot of very, very high tech support to what Aadil is doing now. You were telling me about the water level, and about the other technologies that you've been able to experience, study, and actually put to practice. Can you just give us a snapshot on that?
First thing, as a parent, we had always, Adil was always assisted and abetted by the top professional wherever, whatever available to us. First, we depend upon Jesse Gariwal. Then we went to Bob Byman in US. We made a roster that whatsoever coach teach you, he's teaching 100% right. And let we write it down so that we can practice that same drills over and over the system over the time, so that it should go in the system. Normal human muscles get trains normally when you practice 200 times, 300 times, particular pattern, then it goes to your muscle memory. So that was my idea. My job was now that whatever coach tells you, you should be noting down all the instructions. And when his coach is away, you have to practice the same drills. If there is any differentiation between that what coach tell you and the what child is not doing, that was my job. I was never been a coach. I never tried to be a coach. I was always a supervisor. What coach is teaching him, my duty was he should do the same thing. I never tried to be a coach. And when I visited the US, I seen that small young people, they were not like training under the naked eye. And I find that Indian coaches at that time, most of them, they rely on the naked eye training, or without assistance of technical technology, any assistance. So first thing, when Adil was 14 or 15-year-old, I was contacted by a US coach. Then he showed us a TrackMan, and then he took us to the high performance lab. Then he showed us a pressure plates. He showed us a K vest. He introduced us to the level sensor, then all the stuffs. Incidentally, I did my doctorate in soil mechanics and hydraulic engineering structures. So soil mechanics is basically nothing, is just a study of soil. Like in the golfing world, you can say it's a behavior of the ball on the greens. When the course is dry, the ball behave differently. When the green are wet, the speed is different and the grass texture is different. And when you hit the ball on the green, it like bump and roll is different under the different moisture conditions. So all these technical parameter, which is very, very difficult to make 10-year or 12-year child to understand all these technical parameter. I made a roster of all these points that he should understand if he wanted to be a world-class golfer. So we came back from US. Then we started again the naked practice, naked eye practice. Then I find that this is the bottleneck. We are wasting money in US. If we are getting a training from US, until and unless we don't practice same thing in India, it's of no use in US. So that triggered my mind. Then I went met the Virat Kohli Foundation. Then he said, what we can do for you guys. I said, we play golf. We are well off in the country. We can play anywhere in the world. Only thing you can contribute if you help me to buy that, or you can loan me some money where we can buy those high-tech gadgets which we use normally get a training from US. So he said, just make a roster point and what the training equipment you need. You just go ahead and buy those equipment. This is how we went into the technical side and technical training. Then I invested around 1.2 crore rupees to buy all this high-tech machinery, high-tech gadgets, levels, sensors. Then we got all that, all they all are portable. I travel with him with all these gadgets all over the world whenever he travels and play in Asian circuit, or no, is trying to be on the US circuit next year. So this is how we started.
No, that's wonderful. In fact, I must tell you, our club is looking at the possibility of doing the same for the benefit of everybody. Down the line, it's a sizable investment, but we're hoping to find a solution to do that. So while that's good news for all the students who are listening, the importance of technology, you're right. Not everybody can afford the kind of money to do it, but India, we have a lot of kids coming up who are showing talent, and they're proving that an investment in them will be worth it. So these are good inputs. Thank you very much. And I'm going to take it forward to the club when I speak to them about the difference it's made to him. In fact, why don't you just tell us a little bit more? You were telling me that when you actually got down to the sixth hole and the playoff, Aadil was telling you about all that you've trained him about the water levels, etc., and how it made a difference.
See, there is always a precision which makes the difference. Like if you hit a bullet, like in the film Villain, they shoot a bullet. I mean, Abhinav Bindra is also a shooter. That's the difference. That he shoots right in the bullhead, and he just has to aim the hero. So that is the precision difference is there. Like if you are that, you should not depend upon your luck. You should practice that hard with that precision that you should be able to understand that my club face is open by 1 degree or it's 1.25 degree. Because if you hit a 300 yard, if you are 1 degree off, it means you are 30 yard off the center fairway.
True.
If your eyes cannot sense that it's a 1 degree or 1.5 degree or 1.25 degree, I mean, you cannot win bread and butter on the Asian tour or European tour or American tour. That was my main point.
No, TK, absolutely well taken. Thank you so much for that. Let's move a little bit forward, Ji. Would you want to share a little bit about that water level and how you made him understand reading of greens and to be able to understand slopes and how it actually helped him in the playoff?
Water level is the only equipment in the world, like we use, all civil engineer use it for making draining the water either on the floor of the bathrooms or the terrace. This level, this is the only equipment in the world where is not even iota of change in this equipment construction. So all the buildings are leveled by this water level. There's a little bubble in it, and it's called water level. So if you put your water in the bathroom, it will go toward a particular what you call trap. So if you use it on the golf course, what is that? The hole is there, and you have to put the ball in the hole. So in the bathroom, when you drain out the water, so you have to give a certain gradient to it, and then every drop of the water goes to the hole. But what happened on the golf course, it's the other way around. So slope is there. You have to have some technology which you can measure that how much slope is there. So I brought this equipment from civil engineering background, that we use this gadget for level out the greens to measure how much is one side up or one side down. So we made thousands of calculation that if 3 feet putt, it's a 1 degree slope, 2 degree slope, 2.5 degree slope, and how much it breaks. And normally nowadays scientists and engineers and this new golfer, professional golfers, they call it as a aim point. You must have seen that the boys is doing like 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger. That is this is the width of the break. So this is the simplest version what we are talking on the leveling. So level give you the amount of break, how much it goes left from the center of the hole, and how much it will be right of the hole if the slope is on this side or this side. So if you do thousands of calculation in your mind and you do daily use of this level, you will know exactly that how much ball will break. To make him to understand this one, I used to take him in the golf course. Very early morning in the winters, there are dew drops on the golf course. I tell my greenkeeper not to cut the green, so that we stand on the one side. He rolls hundreds of ball, then the ball makes a print on the dew drops. So this is how I made him to understand that why the ball is breaking and it's leaving the prints. You have to remember all these prints if you wanted to be successful in the professional life. then those prints might be help him to win his first professional. He says, Dad, I was visualizing that my cup was 1 feet in all the playoff hole. So I put the ball in the hole at my will.
Wow, that's wonderful. I must say, very creative too. That's a great way of teaching something. And wow, that's really good to hear. I'm now actually moving forward. I'm going to ask to go to Adil. Adil, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Adil,
Yes, absolutely.
tell us a little bit about what was a school day like when they just say when you were about 14 or 15. What was a day like for you?
So, like a normal, so I always, firstly, no 2 days were the same because, every day you have different things to do. But usually when I came back from tournaments, so that was my time where I actually used school to distract myself because, you can't keep, like I'm sure like all the like elder golfers can relate that when you start playing for so many years, it's hard to, keep thinking about golf all the time. So you need something to distract yourself also. So I use school as a gateway, to think about other stuff, do other stuff, play other sports. So usually I would go to school at 6:30 because I really enjoyed playing soccer with my friends. So I used to wake up at around 5:30, do some of my stretches and eat breakfast, and 6:30 I went to school. Then come back from school at about 2:30 and eat lunch, then be at CGA at about 3, then did my golf specific exercises, golf warm up, everything by 3:30, and then from 3:30 to 7:30 I used to practice. Then 7:30 again I used to go to the gym, cool down, stretch, eat a bit, and 8 o'clock I came home, ate dinner, and if I had energy I used to do some studying, but that was rarely the case.
So what time did you wake up in the mornings?
I tried more on most days. I used to wake up at 5:30, but some days earlier also because if I had then I started at about 13. I used to do some like one of my coaches. We used to go in a park and we used to do uphill running, which is very good for your legs. So on those days, I used to wake up at about 5 or 5:10.
And school started at what time?
School started at 8, so I used to go at 6:30 to get in like an hour of football.
Okay. Tell me, what about leisure? What do you do for leisure? I mean, today there's so much
I
distraction
think
available.
everyone is different. So anything that makes you happy, just do it. I mean, for me as I grew up, my hobbies changed. Like, but a few of the constants, like I really enjoy watching movies. Music is a big hobby. I have music on me all the time, and like my friend circle has gotten bigger. You learn so many things from people who you talk to on a daily basis, and plus after getting in the Virat Kohli Foundation, I've made friends from other sports also. I think that plays a big role because if someone from like a same path of life, they share your experiences, they can relate, what you are going through, what are the struggles of being an athlete. So I think that is really helpful because that just gives you a sense of like like a sense of belonging, that someone is also doing the work. So I think it's helpful if you have friends from other sports also. But having a social life, golf can be sometimes a bit lonely because on tour, it's not easy to travel a lot, week in week out. So you have to have a healthy relationship with your close friends and family.
Excellent. Tell me, I'm jumping on to golf now. So when you practice, let's say, let's take both when you were 14 and also now currently, just give us a snapshot that when you used to go and practice, how did you practice? What was your routine? What was your schedule, etc.?
So one thing which I've always done throughout my career is, I think, which has been very beneficial to me is, before every practice session, I kind of write things which I want to work on. That just gives me a sense of perspective going into each session. Even if it's a small 20-minute putting match with someone, but I still know that, okay, here are some things which I want to try. Here is something which I want to work on. So it's always clear in my mind that what is this practice session doing for me, rather than just hitting parts, talking to friends. That, I mean, there there are times to do that, but on most practice sessions you should have a clear goal for the particular practice session. But as time progressed, goals changed, my swing changed, I changed. So what I used to work on when I was 14, not exactly the same things I work on now, but still that is the base of every practice session. And my like throughout my life, I've not practiced one session for more than about 40-45 minutes. I think that's my individual like attention span. I can't focus for more than 40 minutes. Like if you're doing it properly with through you doing your routine, following your process, I think it's not only humanly possible that you give every shot the importance it requires for more than 40-45 minutes. I know I see kids just hitting balls after balls, 2-3 buckets in a row. I think that's completely wrong. So I think you should treat practice as you're playing your competition. I think it's very important, because like in tournament, after if you hit a bad shot, you can't just take a ball and hit it. You have to wait, you have to walk, you have to give it time. So in practice also, when you hit a bad shot, don't just try to correct it immediately, take a ball and just smash it. Go back, analyze what went wrong, and then follow your process and then hit the shot again.
Excellent. Very, very good point there. So tell me, when you went for practice and you were there from 3:30 to 7:30, so and you were doing something for a 40-minute slot. So how would you break up your entire 3 hours that you were there?
So I've always been a very, like in practice wise, I've always wanted to not give any particular part of the game more attention than others. Obviously, I mean, short game is much more important than um, any other part of the game. But I would always try to divide my time, equally as to how many shots I actually play in the round. So like the basic thumb rule was, let's say we play 72 shots in a round, and like we hit 14 drives at four on par threes, and we usually do about 30 to 32 putts. So I used to divide my time in that fashion. So I used to start with hitting, because I'm physically fresh, and I can um actually go after it and not be fatigued and then tired. So I used to come down from hitting to putting, but I always used to give the time as it's required. Sometimes some days there were, when I used to work on bunker play a bit more, or iron play, mid irons or long irons, depending on the situation. But usually that was my thumb rule, that to give each part of the game equal importance.
Very nice, Adil. There's some great insights here for everybody who's listening because, yes, 40-minute slots, but doing different things which all contribute to it and practicing as if you're playing a match or playing a round of golf. So every shot is given the due respect. You learn it in the range and then you take it to the course, right?
Yes.
DIGRAJ, there is a scientific background for this, why we have a 45-minute session.
Hanji,
Because if you see the
the brain.
university, if you see the university standards, all the top universities, their period length is 45 minutes.
Right.
Nobody in the world teaches you more than 45 minutes in one draw. Then teacher changes, you can go for coffee or come back another 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then you're going to start a fresh session.
Right.
The game session will be 45 minutes. So
Right.
I brought the same analogy right from the childhood to him, that you can have 5 sessions, you can have 10 sessions, but no session will be more than 45 minutes.
But you're absolutely right. There's a brain, the pre-cortex, this thing, it actually has a attention span of 25 minutes. So 40 is stretching it a little just to the optimum, bilkul. So, but great.
So my purpose was his muscles are tender. There's no point of stretching the tendon muscles to the extent that it get injured, or he should get a 15-minute break that he can eat. He can go back to the clubhouse. Then he can watch TV. Then he used to watch Doraemon. Then stretch his break for 15 minutes to 20 minutes. Sometime cartoons, maybe 25 minutes. That indirectly helped me. The more he stays, in the off mode, so then he can have more sessions.
Okay.
So sometimes we used to go at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then come back at 3 o'clock in the evening, so that we can have a 4 or 5 sessions.
Wonderful, Ji. I have another question for you, Adil. Adil, now
Yes, sir.
to assist you on your golfing journey, what else are you doing in terms of, let's say, meditation or understanding strategy, statistics? How much time are you devoting to these areas, if at all?
So I started doing this thing where I started when I was about 14. Like a senior player, he told me this, and so on any day that a golfer like or anyone feels that they're feeling really good or you're feeling really positive, on those days things just come naturally. You feel at ease. Life is just so much simpler on those days. On those days, just record 2-3 minutes of yourself. Just talk to yourself, how I'm feeling, what did I do that I have this feeling today. So I have a whole like a bunch of recordings on my best days. So on days when I'm not feeling up there, or when I'm feeling a bit low, I listen to myself, just have good memories of myself or when I was feeling at my best. I think that's an exercise which has really helped me, especially in tournaments, where there's so much pressure. You wake up or you're feeling stiff, you feel you so many things going through your head. It's just a good gateway to clear your head, just get into the zone before a round. And I started meditating I meditate about 10 minutes in the mornings on an empty stomach after my warm up. I think it's really helpful. It gives a good start to the day, clears the mind, and just gets everything into place. So I think these are the two things which I do for my like mental side of the game, and I think they're working pretty good for me.
Excellent. Very nice. It's a great insight about storing your best memories so that you can tap into them whenever required. And the fact that you made the effort to record them and save them and use them, that's fantastic. Great review of what Tiger does pretty much the same thing. Not recording, but he records reviews every single day and goes back and makes a note of it. So, another way of doing it. Fantastic. Tell me, Adil, when coming down to the Bengal Open, which you just won, you bogeyed this last hole to go into a playoff. If you had par, you would have won
Yeah.
it outright. Obviously, a bit of a deterrent there. You bogeyed the last hole instead of winning outright. You've gone into a playoff, and then you had a phenomenal playoff, and then you chipped in on the sixth playoff hole to win it. Just take us through your mind. What is happening from the 18th green, from when you missed it, and then how you composed yourself and went on to win it.
So I think it the first thought that I came after signing my scorecard, getting ready for the playoff, that I missed this. Like ever since I turned pro, and I've come close to winning a tournament, but the actual feeling of having a realistic chance to win is completely different. So the first, I still remember, I'm walking. I had to go to the washroom. So as I'm walking towards the washroom, I'm thinking to myself, the I miss this pressure. So the first thought was only positive. That it's like the whole point of practicing so hard is that you're at a stage where the world is watching. There is so much at stake. You're at your best there then.
Very
So I
nice.
think that was my initial reaction. And as it turned out, first playoff hole we both parred. But I think first playoff hole for me was the toughest because um just the whole, like when you look at the 18th hole, like you filled with people. It's a completely different thing looking at it empty. The green is a bit narrower than usual. And the first hole was a bit tough for me, but I managed to hit the green and two putt for par. So did Odayan. But after the first hole, I think it became a bit easier. The things just settled down, and I knew that I'll go. We'll go the distance in this thing. So and I for some reason, the hole just kept getting bigger and bigger. Just didn't seem to miss, and had some good bounces also on the third playoff hole, where I actually missed it right on the first shot and made a great up and down, from a impossible lie. So I think that I had some luck on that hole, and then again hold a long 30 footer on the fourth, which we played the first hole. So, but even Uday and he didn't give any edge. And the only thing going through my head at that time was, just don't, if even if you lose it, I don't, I mean, losing and winning, it's a part of the game, but don't just give it to him. Let him win it if you lose it. So I think that's a good mindset for me, because then I won't regret not trying my best. So every shot, I've just focused to follow my process, and even if it didn't go the way I planned, I won't regret anything because I controlled everything I could.
So excellent. You've used a very important word there, process. Tell me, how important do you think process, routine, everybody's talking about it now in terms of being able to standardize your ability. Just walk us through that.
I think because golf is such a game where so many things are out of our control. Like for example, in a iron shot, let's say you hit a perfect drive, you're happy, you swung it good, you had good balance, finished it high, but it went into a divot. There's only so much you can do. So I think golf in some ways it's very thing you only control about 10 to 15% of the things. You can control your equipment, you can control what you do before a shot, that's about it. So process for me is like the 15%. I want to have full grab on things which I can control. Like if I hit a good shot and a gust of wind takes it, that's okay. I mean, it wasn't under my control. I should have been able to figure it out, but wind or like at the environment is such a thing. Most times, they don't go your way. So process for me is, it's like the shot is already played before I actually play it. So even if I have a unlucky bounce, I don't feel that bad about it. I'm able to recover from it much quicker than most players, because they keep sulking. Oh no, yeah, like it bounced there. It hit a sprinkler, lipped out. But for me, if I followed my process, if I did everything I could, I'm satisfied with myself.
So how you worked on this process? How you developed this habit of a solid process? Uh, what could the kids
I
learn
think
from you
it's a
here?
very personal thing. No, like there's no right way to do it. Like I've met so many good players, their processes are so different. For some people, a shot starts mentally, when they are about 30 feet before approaching the ball. For some, it starts when they are standing right behind the ball, ready to walk up to the ball. So it's a very personal thing. It differs vaguely. So you just have to keep trying, and especially when you're in high pressure situations, like try to remember what worked for you then, because in those situations you will always fall to what you are comfortable with. Like in those moments you won't try to do something which doesn't come naturally to you. So in those moments, try to figure out, that's the actually the best area to think, so much was at stake, so what did I do to do my best? That is your natural you. I think it's a trial and error. It took over 5-6 years for me to have my process in place, and still, I mean, it's not at 100%. I mean, I don't think even Tigers it's as 100%, but we get as close to perfecting it.
So you're right,
DIGRAJ, here
Adil.
I have
Sorry.
a very scientific point to endorse this, how we imbibe the process and how we imbibe the natural process, that it should be part of your system. 4 year back, we were playing in Australia as an Australian amateur and Australian master amateur. So there we saw that some boy is making a video blogging. So there we made our channel, which you saw the 4 year age Aadil Bedi golf on YouTube. I started video blogging on that, so that when Adil is playing, he should play natural game. I should record his reactions, what he look like on the video. So then we come back and I learned then some software cut paste thing, and then we made 10-minute each video. Like we made it on the Asian Games, we made it on Pro Debut, we made it on Asian Tour Q School. That how you behave and how you react, how much time you take for a particular shot. Let me make a digital note of everything you do on the golf course,
so that we can standardize. So he has at least 50 live video playing actually on the high tense matches, like winning on the sometime on the winning situation, sometime on just participating, sometime you just make a cut and you are doing a formality, and sometime you are nowhere in the reckoning and still you are making a video that how you react when nothing is at stake and you're playing carefree. Then he has more birdies. Then that kind of stuff, that kind of data parents can catch for their kids, store it on the YouTube, and so that kids have a reference back for their personal observation any stage later. Because if you start telling your 9-year daughter that okay, behave like a tiger would, he does this, he does that, you better record for her 9, 11, 13, 15. When she will turn 9, 16, she will start watching her 9-year-old videos. That's my point is.
Okay, so basically what Adil is saying and what you're saying is every player has a different process of ideas to find what you're most comfortable and natural with, which has worked the best for you. But then the key is also to make sure you do the same every time. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
That you have to have a history for that to verify those small technical things, which is very personal to you.
Right. So very interesting point. So basically experiment, find what works for you. But when you're on the course, make sure you apply it diligently on every shot. And like you said, the shot begins before you actually hit the shot. So if you're following a process you're already in the shot mode when you're standing behind at whatever stage that's natural to you, right? Though I must mention, I was watching Tiger when he was here in India. Had a chance to be in that 4-ball when he was there. Very precise. I mean, everything was absolutely microsecond identical. Absolutely. Can you hear me? I just
So
got
you
a
have to have a record with you.
That's
You
right.
have to have your videos and record with you so that you can compare yourself what you are actually behaving. You don't know how you laugh unless you see the mirror.
Right. That's a good point, Jim. Absolutely. Okay. Let me just move on. Adil, at this point of time, are you comfortable sharing with us what is your long-term goal?
Um, so like how I view my goals are like, short term and long term, obviously. Some goals are dynamic, they change with circumstances. But my goals, which started when I was 6, 7, or when I had enough knowledge to, search about, what Pgti tour is, what majors are, like all that stuff. So I think my goal was to, like initially it was to become world number 1, still is, definitely. Then win the Grand Slam. And I try not to put numbers like stats is a different type of goal. Those are technical goals. Like I want my scoring average to be in the 60s, or I want to have a putting average of this much. That's a completely different type of goals to have. But like these goals are important. You should write them down, post it, stick them on your wall. That I want to, like, goals may be different. For me it's winning major championships, being world number 1, winning on the PGA Tour. That are my goals. But I try not to put numbers on that goals, because then I'm limiting myself to something. Like, if I say I want to win 2 majors, just why only 2? Why not 10? Why not 15? So, you should have big goals, because if your goals don't scare you, I mean, then they aren't really big enough.
Well said, Adil. Very nice. And we just all will hope and pray that you'd make this happen and make India proud one day, which I'm sure you will, by the way. Okay. Okay, Adil, what would be your advice to the kids here? But before we get to that, just tell me one small thing. How do you keep your goals alive? You said you write them down. Is there anything else you do as a process to keep your goals alive in your mind? Because people tend to forget as well. That's funny, but they do.
Yeah, I think like my goals mean so much to me that I never forget them. But sometimes when sometimes I'm not playing good, or sometimes through a rough patch, it sometimes is difficult to push yourself up, because you won't always have people around you to help you get up. So I think at those points you really have to dig in deep inside yourself, that you have to burn that fire again. So like when you're winning, the world is with you, everyone's happy, everyone's greeting you, everything is good. But when you're not playing well, that's the time you are tested as a player. So I think in those points you have to be with yourself. You have to have your emotions in check. You have to have your character in check. Do not let yourself down. Do not, push yourself down. Just stay strong. In those moments, how you react will determine, how high you will go.
Absolutely, and well said. Okay, Adil, so coming to my previous one, what advice would you give to the kids who are listening on to you here right now?
I think golf is, it's termed as a very luxury sport, but now it's getting very competitive. So I think the biggest thing to like learn from me, or anyone can take from me today is, enjoy yourself. Like golf is, it's a very difficult and but yet so simple at the same time. And believe me, when you play on a bigger level, it's a whole different experience. It is so much fun, and it is so much pressure to play at that level. But some players, they forget to enjoy themselves, enjoy the process. Like I fell in love with the game because any day when I'm standing over a ball, even now when I'm hitting balls into a net, there's no realistic pressure. But whenever I'm hitting a shot, nothing in the future, nothing in the past matters to me. It's in that moment, it's just me, that ball, and that hole. That for me is happiness. That's why I enjoy the game. It just breaks me away from the world. And I think that's why I enjoy golf. I mean, that's the biggest reason I love the game, because I enjoy it. So learn to enjoy the game first, then other things come into place. You have to practice hard, obviously. Practice smart. That is, I think, more important than practicing hard. Everyone wants to be number one, but not everyone is willing to put, not everyone knows what it takes to be number one. So I think enjoy yourself first and practice smart.
Good, very good points, Adil. Thank you so much. Hariji, what advice would you have for the parents here who are listening on? And I'm quite happy to see so many parents here who are sitting with the kids. And I know for a fact that in case you don't see them, but they're still around, what would your advice be to them to keep your child motivated through the process without putting too much pressure on him? Finding a way to get him to enjoy the game and just grow with it.
It's like Kumar Sanu is singing and you are you know नीचे तबला बजा रहा होता है ना काला सा बंदा बैठ के.
Okay.
Be that. You accompany him. Nobody is looking at you. Everybody will look at the singer, but you are as important as the part of the somebody is singing, playing with the harmonium, or somebody is doing with the tabla right down in the corner. Try to be that. Try to be a sports system. I mean to say in technical language. If you can handle the sports system, and child has to go number of failure in the process. And these number of failure, if they are more at the time of growing, we never insisted that he should win junior matches, he should be winning so many amateur matches. Our aim was, let we go through the process number of time, as much as experiment you want, so you do it here. And every experiment you have in your life, you should have a data recorded for you. So that was the most important part. And try to build around the dictionary, database, video base, stats, trackman stats, because child cannot maintain those number of stats, which require a quite expertise. You need to sit around in the computer, type it for your child, keep it in a directory, keep it in a Word format, keep it in Excel format, and you have to maintain it for 10 years. Maybe I maintain it for 14 years. I can tell you name any number, name any match in the juniors. I can exactly tell you the what score he had shot, because I had typed in my laptop, all my with my own hands.
Fantastic.
So the basic job of the parent is to maintain the database, which a child can refer again and again.
Very, very nice, Ji. In fact, as you know, my company, we have the privilege of managing Milkha Ji, and he tells us that a parent has to work as much as a child does to actually make a future in terms of something which is going to be glorious. So, as much effort the child's putting in, the parents are practically putting in, and I can see it happening on many fronts. So, but thanks for sharing this bit. Uh, as a matter of fact,
This is the min.
please go ahead. Ji.
This is the least minimum requirement of being you involved in the process. And I remember I went to Dipali Shah, who's listening to us, and I took a diary to and showed to her that, ma'am, this is how we maintain a golf course diaries. Like we used to make a small diagram of all the greens of the golf courses around the country. Like, because on the Asian tour we normally get a printed diary, but we had a vision in the childhood when I was even 7 or 8 year old. He was carrying his diary in his pocket so that he knows where the bunker is, where the green slopes are. So she was quite amazed that when Adil was at 7, we were sitting in our office for a cup of coffee, and I shown her. She said, how you can how you can be so harsh to your little child. So I still remember her. I still remember her words. So I'm very sure Dipali must be smiling now.
She is. I can see it right now. Okay, I have just final two questions, Ji. The one question is now, it was very good to see him being taken up with the Virat Kohli Foundation. I had met those guys some time back. And my question to you is that what has Virat shared with him in terms of egging him on to becoming a world-class sportsman? And besides that 1.2 CR support in terms of technology, which is fantastic, is there anything else that they're bringing forth to you which is helping progress Adil's journey?
DIGRAJ, I just correlate with my childhood memory, which is very, very scientific. I mean, my mom used to tell my dad, I was a little child, and my mom used to tell my dad was a doctor, and we used to live in a small town outside the big city, Amritsar, that's north part of the Punjab. And my mom used to, tell my dad that we should have a home in the city so that the children can see the boys of the IS officer, police officer. We should stay in a better area so that child see the officers and officers wards. We stay in the village, the child sees your washerman son, some buffalo man son, or some poor guy. So if the child live in a if a child live in a better society, he will watch the better human race. So what I found, what actually benefit of Virat Kohli Foundation, the moment Adil saw Virat, he started simulating himself that I can be successful like him. So when you start simulating by interacting a very successful person in your life, then you start making a copy of his personality to your own dictionary. So that is what I feel, that is the biggest gift Virat gave to Adil, that you be like me. What I did for the golf, what I did for the cricket, you do it for the golf. I think apart from the monetary support, which we of course we needed at the time, but the most important observation as a father, I would say, that is the belongingness, that you belong to rule this game. You are the next star of this game. You are the future of India. Like he made it happen, and he made it very strong surrounding. You must have seen, if the boy other than Adil wins, there's hardly any news in the newspaper. If Adil wins, or if in the position to win, whole media making a focus on him. So that's the why we have a very great surrounding team now, very successful people around him now, which motivate him. That's indirect support, which I feel playing a very important role now.
That's wonderful, Ji. In fact, I had an opportunity of interacting with the team that is managing Adil there, and they are actually very, very happy with Adil. So I think it's a great to see the talent the way it's being nurtured. In fact, it takes me to my final question, and Adil, this is for you. You've on many fronts and many times said that Jeev has been your idol in golf, and you've been quite open about it, which is quite nice. tell me, what has Jeev shared with you? What has motivated you? Because I got a treat for everybody here. The next conversation is going to be with Jeev Milkha Singh, who has just confirmed it yesterday. We have to just finalize a date because he needs to get a little comfortable how to handle Zoom. But thanks so much. That led to that. But Adil, over to you.
So I won't share and like I won't bore you with all the technical stuff he has tell me. I still remember I was about 13 and I just moved to the like the B categories where it's open between you compete with the 13-year-old can compete with the 17-year-old.
Okay.
That for me was like a big step. So I still remember I was practicing and he always goes to the extreme right side of the range in CGA.
Okay.
So whenever he used to come, I used to always go up to him, talk to him for 2-3 minutes. And I still remember first time, and he just put his hand on my shoulder and he said, that there is always going to be someone who drives it longer than you. There is always going to be someone more stronger than you. There will always be someone who puts it better. But the player who does all those things better than everyone is going to win at the end of the day. So the most important thing I think he taught me is just be yourself. I know that I'm not the fittest of the players in the world. I know that I'm not the longest of it. But if I can do everything by average on a bit better than everyone else, I might just be the best. So I think that's one thing because he has an unorthodox swing. Many commentators make fun of him that like he stops in the top of the backswing. But he said if that works for me, that's just me. Why should I change myself just to please someone else? So I think that's the one thing which really is stuck with me all through these years. Just be yourself. Whatever you do, however you do it, if it works for you, just stick to it. I mean, who cares if people laugh at you? They will clap for you when you win the tournament. So
no, that's wonderful. In fact, thanks for saying that. I'm going to tell Jeev that this is what you had to say, because these few words said at the right time to good, talented kids can make a world of a difference. So it's great. Good to hear that. Okay, that was my series of questions. And now what I'm going to do is we have the chat box open. If anybody has any questions to ask, I hope I've covered what everybody had in their minds, but feel free to ask. If anybody wants to raise his hand, we can do it as well. Okay, Ricky, I'm just unmuting you. Please go ahead and ask.
So just I mean, it's just a opposite kind of a sentence to a question to end this discussion on. But it's a fact in reality, and I think Harry has the experience, and I want to hear what he needs to say about it, because it's not for me personally, but for a lot of other people who might benefit from it. Harry, there are people who they're kids who play in the club, and the parents think they're going to make a profession out of playing golf, and but in their own club, after they've been playing and working hard and taking lessons and putting their life into it, they still play like 2 over 3 over rounds, and then they get one round which is par or one under par, and they have a club handicap of like 2, 3, 4. And I mean, I as an outsider feel, are you pushing this kid into doing something which is not so god gifted, talented or great at? What, so question is, at what point parents also decide that okay, maybe golf is not the right game for this kid, and actually don't stop him from doing something else which he might be better and more successful in life, rather than keep at it.
I will like I was a scholar throughout my life. I will relate this training program with the university program. You go for, I did it my graduation from IIT Delhi. So I had an option to do it from Thapar University, and I had an option from NIT Jalandhar. So my father insisted me, you go to the best place, and the minimum standard will be like much way above than the topper of the local college. So you try to understand the situation. And in the class, when I went up there, I was the only boy who was from having a village background. Everybody else was from the Doon school, from the top colleges of the India. So there I thought that I should be the gold medalist among all these scholar people. So my journey started. I was struggling with the English from Punjabi to English. That was my, DIGRAJ might be knowing that the Punjab schools have, we generally study up to the Punjabi and local language. Then you are dreaming to be a gold medalist out of IIT Delhi. I mean, people start laughing at me that look at this boy from, I know he's wearing a baggy panting of these huge trousers, and you are talking about having the gold medal from the university. Now I'm coming to your point. Now see, there is one champion from the Masters. There is one champion from the US Open. There is one champion of maybe Bengal Open or local matches. Now see, when the teacher teach you, they take all the students from number one to the last who score the minimum 40% marks and just clear the degree. And there is one who got a gold medal. He got the same training from the same teacher. And they used to pay the same fee structure. No differentiation. Now you can take the horse to the water, but you cannot make him to drink. It's a child desire that how much he wanted to make out of the opportunity you are creating for him. Now you try to understand, first you have to qualify yourself to provide all the infrastructure to him. Like my father provided me to go to the IIT Delhi. I could settle up second, third or fourth number. My father told me, if you came second, come home. No point, there's no second. So then you have to wait and watch how your child is reacting to the situation and how much he is able to achieve that targets. And I would personally suggest you, if you set a small target for him, let him beat you every time you set a target for him. That is the secret. Then you will come to know from the process whether you are there or you're not there.
Key is to
Got
keep
it.
them motivated. But good point. Create the opportunities for them, and then hopefully they will take the opportunity and go far. And if you've done enough to motivate them, hopefully we'll have more Aadil Bedis coming out of India and major champions in the future. Okay, anybody else for a question?
Yeah, DIGRAJ, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So Aadil,
Haji.
Adil,
Yes,
how
sir.
much time, I mean, what has your journey been on the mental side of the game? You know, when did you really start focusing on the mental side of the game and not just, the swing aspects and whatever else? And what did you really do to build the mental side of the game?
Adil.
I think for me, it was really just, consciously thinking about the gray areas, because I figured that like with me, when I'm playing a tournament, my mind is so active, I have so many thoughts that just need to channelize the right ones. So I started seeing a specialist for, just to get better, to get to the next level. So for me, it was just about, I started with that exercise I told you that, I write about my best days. So for me, that was, just learning about myself that, okay, I'm having these thoughts, but where are they coming from? If I figure I learned this thing about myself that I'm pretty stable in my highs and lows. I don't fluctuate mentally much. So that's a big, huge advantage for golf. If you like, if you make a eagle or you make a bogey, if you still can walk off the green with the same demeanor, that's a really big help. So for me, it was just about writing. The more I, voice it out, write it, actually put your thoughts in writing, so you know that what exactly are you feeling. And then I started some, like I started with 5 minutes. Then I moved the time up to slowly about 20 minutes. Just, sit, do an anulom vilom or some meditation exercise. It really helps us. Little things each day add up to a big thing one day. So I think start with whatever you're comfortable from. And the results of psychological training are not as fast as, physical training or golf training. You take a lesson, you find something really good, and you play well the next week. But with this type of training, it takes years to, actually get results. So it's a very long process, but I think it's worth the journey.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks for the question, Tarun. But Adil, would it be right to say that taking the specialized training accelerated your progress in the mental journey, and how important was it?
Oh, definitely. I think like uh, like dad always taught me, never try to do the job of someone else. If you think that, so there was like physical fitness. I took it upon me. I'll try to do as much research I can, on the internet about learning about the body. That was my thing, which I can do for myself. Like, because at the end of the day, the body is yours. You know the best about your body. But like diet, nutrition, psychological fitness, these things, I knew that I don't have the knowledge I need to have to compete at the highest level. So I opted to trust the experts, those who have much more experience than me. Like, not all things they said suited me. So I used to have discussions with them. So this thing didn't, like, it's not working for me. This thing I feel is not right. But consult an expert. It will always help to get a second person's perspective on something. If you think you have the knowledge of something, then full on trust it. Then have your then trust yourself, that I am right and what I will do is right. But like in meditation, I trusted the teacher I consulted, and we've come along with them.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I mean, you're right, but you think it has definitely made a difference, and going to an expert who knew what to do has actually helped you progress faster. In fact, I was very happy to hear what you said when you
Yes,
walked
definitely.
off. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
So
because
I
I'll
think
complete.
it psychological. Yeah. I think it has teached me, more things about myself, because golf is such a game. You're on your own most of the time. Have your caddy, you have your team, but at the end of the day, you have to swing the club. So the better you know yourself, the better you'll play golf. And I think it's not just about golf. In life also, if you know yourself, most people, they they live by just believing what others say about themselves. Dig a bit deeper inside, hear what your soul has to say. That really helps going a long way.
Very nicely put, Adil. In fact, I think the kids here are quite fortunate. In our club itself, we have somebody is working with them on. It's called a Tough Mind program by a gentleman called G. Ravindran. And for fitness, physical fitness, we have somebody called Christopher Pedra, who actually works with, who's worked with some European tour players, etc. So luckily, they're getting access to some high quality information from experts who know, and I just hope they'll take it on and take it further. You know. Okay, great. Anybody else for any questions? Okay, then I think we'll conclude this session. But first, before I conclude, I just want to give a big thanks to Harinder ji and to Adil. Really appreciate your taking the time, being completely forthright with whatever you've shared. I'm sure everybody has benefited. I've benefited a lot from hearing what you're saying. I've recorded this thing in case anybody wants the recording. I'm very happy to share the recording in the future. But take the steps advised by Adil. Um, do take insights from what Harinderji had to say. And I'm sure both the parents and the kids who are listening to this program or to the session are actually going to find some valuable nuggets. I remember somebody told me this term, it's called mining for gold. In every conversation, if you can take some elements which give you some value, it's like mining for gold. And I think today there was a lot of gold to be mined, both from Harinderji and Adil. So thank you so much. And Adil,
It's a
we are going to be looking out
pleasure
for
being here.
you. Yeah, and I'm sure all the kids here are going to be praying for you and hoping that you win a major and Grand Slam one day.
Yes, absolutely. Pleasure talking to you. Had a great time, sharing my thoughts. And best of luck to you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time. And we'll be back next week with another masterclass. We'll call it masterclass from Jeev in this case. Adil, we're welcome to join up and ask Jeev a few questions that day. Okay?
Sure, sir. Sure. I'll try my best. Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you very much.
You guys,
Thank you very
thank
much,
you.
Digraj, for hosting
Thank
such
you.
a
Thanks,
wonderful
Biggie.
people from Bombay. I love to see Dipali, Digraj, Shruti, Sonia ji, and Hardik, Thapar ji, Varun Khanna ji, Naresh, Harsh, Aryan. Love to see you successful in the future. May God bless you all.
Well, I can tell you there are a few Tiger Woods sitting in here, a few, I'll call them a few Aadil Bedis sitting in here as well. So they'll be playing with him very, very soon. Thank you.
We will be waiting for all of you
All
to
right.
join the league.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
good
you very
evening,
much.
everybody. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining up. Bye-bye.
So,
Yeah.
could you please send the recording of the class? Like of the last few parts of it, I missed it because like my lecture just didn't show up. There was
Okay,
a internet connection problem. That's why.
Sure. I've got a full thing. I don't know how to edit it. We'll figure it out, but I'll send it to you in
No,
any case.
you can send me the full thing. You can send me the full thing. It's fine.
Done. Take it. Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye. See you. Bye, Meher.
Yes, sir.
Dipali, thanks for joining in short notice. I appreciate that. Okay. I'll end the meeting. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.